Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of JoyBaking.com. Today we're going to make a peach cobbler. I like to make this dessert when fresh peaches are in season, and this dessert combines a thick layer of bubbling sweet and juicy peaches with biscuits that have a nice crisp outside crust and are soft and flaky inside. Now, biscuits to some people is the same thing as scones, or you may pronounce it scones. So to begin, we need to preheat our oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 190 degrees Celsius. And then you will need a 9-inch pie plate, be glass or ceramic or earthenware. And then just put it on a larger baking sheet just in case when we're baking our cobbler it bubbles over. Now, if you don't have a 9-inch, you could use an 8-inch square, which would be a 20 centimeter. And then you will need about 4 to 5 pounds, which is slightly over 2 kilograms of fresh peaches that are ripe, but still, you still want them a little firm. Now, what I find if you go to the grocery store, depending on where you buy your peaches, they can be quite hard. They tend to, a lot of places tend to pick their peaches they're not ripe yet. So what you may have to do, what I had to do was buy them and then let them sit about 3 days just to soften up. Now, we want to remove the outer skin of the peach because it's a little tough, and we want like really soft and juicy slices of peaches. So what you will need is a saucepan of boiling water. Now, it depends on the type of peaches, the ripeness, how long. Like when you put it in the boiling water, what we're doing is softening that outer skin so that we can easily peel it off. And as you can see here, have a bowl of ice water ready, because as soon as we take them out of the hot water, we want to put them in the cold water to cool them off and stop the cooking process. So this is a little bit, trial and error. I usually start with one peach to see how long I need to put it in the hot water to soften that outer skin. It can be anywhere from like 30 seconds to about 2 minutes. So what you want to do is put it in for maybe a minute, and then just I used a slotted spoon, just lift it up and test it. I find with these peaches I'm using about a minute and a half. So just careful, put it in your water, and then we're going to leave it about a minute and a half. Okay, so now let's put a minute and a half. When I touch it, it's a little soft. I can see it's separated enough to peel. So I'm putting it into the ice water. Now you want to let it cool down, probably a couple minutes, so it's cool enough to peel. You don't burn yourself. Now I have one already sitting here. So just take it out of the ice water. Let's move this. And then what you simply do is just, as you can see, it just peels right off. So that's what you're looking for. And like I said, you might want to do one just to get your time down. And then we're going to slice our peaches. Now, I don't know whether you know this, but there are 2 types of peaches. They're the clingstone and the freestone. And what really the name implies is how much easily the flesh of the peach will separate from that pit. Obviously the clingstone clings to the pit, and it's a little harder. Freestone, what you can do normally with the freestone is just make a slice and then turn it, and then the pit just falls away. And a lot of that has to do with the season, the time of the year. Typically in the U.S., the clingstone are available like early spring, like spring to early summer, and then you have the freestones after that. What I have here is a clingstone. A lot of times you don't know because they don't tend to label them in the store, so you'll have to just cut it and see what happens. So if I'm doing a clingstone, I don't try to twist it, because I'll have a mess. So what I do is kind of like what I do with an apple. I just cut down on the side of the pit like this. I'm going to do it a little. And like so. And then you want thick wedges. I already have some that are pretty thick. And I've already done most of my peaches because I didn't think you wanted to watch me do all of them. And you just cut them into thick pieces. I'm just going to cut that one in half like that. And that's our peaches. So if you want, sometimes I like to add, peaches and raspberries go great together. You could add a cup of fresh raspberries, about 240 milliliters, or even blueberries if you wanted to. But I'm just going to, because I love just peaches. And then what you want is squeeze about a half of a fresh lemon over the top of your peaches. And the reason I'm doing that is to stop, you don't want them to turn brown because we still have to make our biscuit dough. And I don't want those peaches to brown while I'm doing that. So just squeeze your lemon juice and just toss. And that's that. And now what we want to do, of course, is sweeten our peaches. So in a small bowl, I have a half a cup, 100 grams of granulated white sugar. Now, you know, it's hard to say. I'm going to use about a half a cup of sugar. You know, sometimes peaches are really sweet and you can cut back on that. Other times they're a little more tart, so you can taste your peaches, and if you want, you can adjust that sugar. Don't feel you have to use a half a cup. And then you want a thickener. As the peaches cook, they are going to release juices, and we want to thicken that up so we can kind of pour them over the biscuits and that. So I'm adding, again, this is variable because you never know how much juices your peaches are going to release, but I use about 3 tablespoons, which is about 30 grams of cornstarch, or you may know that as corn flour. And then just a pinch of salt. A pinch is 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then I like to add a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. You don't have to, but I really think it's not a strong cinnamon flavor, but I think it really adds to the flavor, kind of brings out the flavor of the peaches. So again, if you don't want to, you could leave that out. And then I'm just going to sprinkle this over the top. And then you could use a spoon, or a lot of times I just get my hands in there, depending on which one to do, and just toss your peaches. Okay. Really, it's not that much work. Once you have dipped your peaches in the water, I think that's the hardest part of this. Okay, so, I can smell the peaches. Wonderful. Okay, so now I'm just going to take my pan and pour that in an even layer, and then, of course, scrape out the bowl, get all the juices and sugar, and flatten out. So now I'm just going to clean this up, and when I come back, we'll make our biscuit dough. So now we're going to make our biscuits, or you may know them as scones. So you will need a large bowl, and I have in the bowl 1 1/3 cups, which is 175 grams of all-purpose flour. You may know that as plain flour. And to that, I'm going to add 1/4 cup, 50 grams of granulated white sugar. Now that may seem like a little more sugar than what we normally use for a biscuit or a scone, but because we're putting it on top of a dessert with the peaches, I think you need a little bit of sweetness. And then I'm going to add 1 1/2 teaspoons, about 8 grams of baking powder, and then just 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to whisk that. And then I'm going to add 1/4 cup, 55 grams of cold butter. You can use salted or unsalted, whichever one you want. And cut it into small pieces because it's much easier. We're going to cut the butter into the flour. It's much easier if it's in small pieces. Now, I'm using a pastry blender to cut the butter into the flour. You want to, and we're going to just mix it in until it's in little small pieces. You could use your fingertips. You could use 2 knives and kind of just cut like that, whichever you want. Whatever you find easiest to do. Okay, that looks about right. Don't worry if there's like a few large pieces of butter. It's not a problem. So this is what you're looking for, just like coarse crumbs. And then what we're going to do is add some milk or cream. You need about 1/2 cup, 120 milliliters. Now, depending on how rich you want your biscuits to taste, you can use just whole milk, reduced fat milk, or you can even use a light cream if you want to have a really rich tasting biscuit. I'm using milk. And flour, you know, can absorb different amounts of liquid depending on how it's stored and things like that. So don't add all of the 1/2 cup at once. I add like most of it and kind of mix it in and then see how the flour is absorbing the liquid. Because it's easier to add liquid than to take. You can't take it away, and then you have to add more flour, and then your biscuits tend to be a little tough if you have to add too much flour. So it's better to start and then just add a little more if you need it. I'm just going to get my hands in there and I can feel it. Bring it together. I think that'll be about right. So I didn't use the full 1/2 cup. Sticking a little messy when you do it with your fingers. So now what you'll need to do, we're going to roll out our dough. Wipe my hand. So you'll need a little flour, and then we're just going to knead it a bit. Bring it together and smooth it out a little, so just flour your surface. Now some people make their cobbler by just taking pieces of the dough and just dropping it over the surface of the peaches. You could do that, but I prefer to cut it out with, I'm using about a 2-inch cookie cutter. It's about 5 centimeters. So either way, and you want it, you know, not too thick. So what you're going to do is just put it on your surface, you know, space them out. And then, of course, just gather up your scraps. Don't want to waste any of our dough here. Okay. Got one more small one. And so now, some people say that the name cobbler comes from the fact that when you put all your biscuits on top, it looks like cobblestones. And some people say it comes from the word cobble up, which means to make something in a hurry. Either way, it's good. So now, what I'm going to do is just brush the top of biscuits or scones with a little milk or cream. Just helps with browning. And then we're going to bake it. Now, of course, like always, everybody's oven's a little different and the peaches, you know, vary. Somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes. But what you're looking for is the fruit, the juices of the peaches will start to bubble, and the biscuits will be nicely browned. And if you put a toothpick in the center of one, it will come out clean. Okay, our peach cobbler is now done. Doesn't that look wonderful? You can see the fruit, you're starting to bubble, the juices, and the biscuits are really nice golden brown. Put a toothpick into the center, that it will come out clean, or you can kind of even tap them and they sound kind of hollow. That's another test. So what I'm going to do, a little too hot to eat right now, so what I'm just going to let it cool for a little bit, and when we come back we will try some. So now we're ready to serve our peach cobbler. Now, I like to serve it in a bowl. You could also do it in a plate, whichever way you want. I find this is more casual dessert, so I like a bowl. So just take a biscuit, one or two, whatever you like, and then some peaches. And then I like to get some of that wonderful juice. You can see it's kind of thickened a little from that cornstarch. Put that over top. And then if you really want to go all out here, a scoop of vanilla ice cream on top is really great. Or even some cream, whipped cream, or just cream poured over. Get a little biscuit here. That tastes so good. The sweet peaches with that biscuit. Baxter is even barking, he wants some. So excellent. And if you have any leftovers, just cover them and store them in the refrigerator, and then you can just reheat them or even have them cold or at room temperature. So enjoy. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com.